Yes, that's correct. We would not place a building in front of that access point. No.
Yeah. And of course, what that says is, to me, is that element within the actual agreement before us is an issue for this agreement. That's an issue for the city to potentially push with MOT as to what can be done to expedite that if we want that. And that's outside of this agreement. And that on top of it might be something that we have to actually push with one of our, or a couple of our commercial property owners in the city ourselves, if they have rights that they would need to give up in terms of highway accesses. And again, that's not, I think, germane to this exact agreement, because that's an issue of us having to our own citizens to change how they do business in terms of access to their business sites. And my only was, again, with regards to the questionnaire that you supplied in terms of the standards that you would be doing. In terms of maybe your experience with developments where it's on, I don't know, any of the developments you've done historically have been on where on sites that border other municipalities where it's not even a matter of band land, it's two very closely adjoining each other, like in the Lower Mainland or something. Have you ever run into a scenario where the guidelines of the neighboring community apply to the site you're developing? Got a scenario like that just as a consideration?
At times there are, if they're using a common roadway like 120th Scott Road between Surrey, they'll have some understandings of how to.
And I can't imagine somebody investing this amount of money and not wanting to make sure it's going to be attractive. And I also, it's interesting to hear in 30 years you've never seen double jurisdiction with regards to development permits or design guidelines. And so I'm not going to push on that, but this 4th Avenue one, Councillor Harrison does bring up a good point. I was just wondering if we could go to, again, page 173 or page 13. And I just want clarification on that point, because I remember when we were discussing this previously, we wanted to make it clear as a city that we weren't going to contribute to that second signalized intersection. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
This doesn't really say that, does it?
It's in another part of the document.
Okay, so it's in another part of the document. Then on Appendix 4, page 176, the map, because I do want to discuss this a little bit more, because I think we come to a solution that helps everybody, but it's about as good as it is. I was hoping it would be better. But if you go to the light in the middle, the light in the middle of Lot 7, the highway traffic light that's there, can you see that? That little, there we go. Oh, that's pretty good.
It's come a long way.
That's the light that Councillor Harrison is asking about that isn't approved yet, but MOT has said to you that it can happen when you want it. Is that correct?
They have design guidelines, but have recognized the need for that light to adequately service both Lot 8 and Lot 7. So when I looked at the original plan that had a road through Lot 7 to 10th, I didn't think that it really addressed the problem of 10th Avenue exiting onto the highway. Plus, working with staff, we came to realize that the town council was concerned about that. The dual light, the one at 20th, has limited upside for Lot 7. It does address the left out problem that somewhere traffic will use it, but we felt that it was the most responsible spot to put that intersection and help it to happen, because there's a key piece of property that we placed under contract and are moving ahead with. So we felt that that was a proper thing to do. Plus, it allowed other properties within San Bernard to be developable to the west. Then we also had MOT to say we would also be responsible for a light to be placed midpoint, a simpler light that would allow servicing of that Lot 7 and 8 that is also a considerable amount of whole area. So at the end of the day, I think most jurisdictions got a better solution with more tax-based or developable area to develop jurisdictions.
Okay, so on the left, and everybody's left looking at this, I don't question that from our community's view, that is a far than where it was at one time in front of Canadian Tire, where now, and then secondly, have your lot. I realize that you guys have given up some because you'd probably rather have the direct help. But I think from a community point of view, staff has done a great job negotiating for us with regards. My only point would be that light in the midsection, and with regards to Ken's question, it will MOT and will you guys be happy if we moved it further to the right, just before, if you could move the map down a bit now, and, just no, the other way. Okay, so you see where on lot 8 it starts veering away from the road. What that was right. It gives you the access, and then it makes it very easy for us to extend the frontage road, or for you and us to extend the frontage road, move it back from the highway a bit to allow stacking, and have the access point there. Then we have a lot better chance of negotiating to close those other 2 points, which it's funny, when people want something, they talk about safety, but when they don't want something, they don't talk about how unsafe those existing intersections are. Those intersections are extremely unsafe right now, and anything to close those off or improve those would be a huge step in the right direction, including another light and a frontage road. So I'm just wondering, are you set on that midpoint, or could it be further down and solve Councillor Harrison's concern, with one access point being into your parking lot and the other being to the frontage road? And what does staff think of that, or am I micromanaging?
I think we're trying to redesign something here, and in all fairness, I don't think this was a requirement of the developer or a request of the developer, but rather it was a request from another party.
But it was a request of council to deal with that one point, and I'm just trying to get clarification as to whether in the future that could be discussed. We're not going to put a building there and block off the 4th Avenue. I'm just wondering if you'd be open to moving it further down, and if staff thinks that's a better solution.
The light is placed, just placed out there somewhat symbolically.
Okay.
The light itself, MOT has requested that it's close to the exact midpoint, which is slightly to the right. And that in their traffic modeling is a key point in traffic movement. The other thing is you have to recognize that when we come off the light, there will be a considerable stack into the property before you turn over for it. So
okay.
I think the position where we have it in would be the most effective to deal with for the future. If you get it too tight, there's enough room to get over, because you get stack and then come loop back. We haven't done a very good job of demonstrating that with the lines on there, but I think where the light is placed would be the best spot to deal with for it, because it's really tight, really quite tight to the highway.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to come in to go back around.
Okay. Thanks.
There's another thing that there's an MOT drawing that is quite historic in their long-range planning, and it did show a connection through to 10th, but right where Piccadilly is, and that's where we initiated that conversation, which is that we'll work privately to see whether that can take place.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Dyson.
Yeah, thank you. I understand what you're saying. If you could bring that picture back up. I wish I had the laser pointer, but Councillor Harrison outlined it. So, just give me after that. The loop that you're talking about that would connect to 4th, would have to have the stacking. I think if anyone has been to the London Drugs location, he's got them. Which goes like that.
Yes.
That's what you're talking about, because as soon as you come off there, you need the stacking so that it can loop back up. But I think that in the future will be, like Councillor Harrison said, a very important connection to go to there, right? And that's what everyone was talking about here. And I appreciate the comments about, if you could bring up Appendix 1, please.
Councillor Dyson, do you have any questions for
Oh, no.
Mr. Crowley?
No, I don't have any questions for you.
Thank you very much.
I might get to one, I'm not sure. I was speaking earlier about long-term relationships with the First Nations and how we can gain, both parties can gain by interacting and communications in the development. And I heard some councillors talk that if we asked First Nations to have input on their land, that they would want input on our developments. And I think that historically, maybe it's entrenched that doesn't happen. In the long term, I think it's everyone's benefit that it would happen, and that we would be able to have open conversations about it. Because if I look at this picture of the west side of Salmon Arm, I think that could be a massive, massive boost for Salmon Arm, and both for the First Nations. I think it